So the Chicago Bears just made a move. It's so underrated, and really, not many people are covering it very prominently. I think it's a big move. And, with all the talent, all the strong voices on this coaching staff, you need a strong head coach, a coach who isn't afraid to make tough decisions and also willing to do so in the smaller details as well. And I think that's what we have here. And the winds of change still moving through Hallis Hall. And this one was a bit of a surprise. Brad Biggs just reported that the team just got rid of their strength and conditioning coach, and his name's Jim Arthur. Now, these two guys, Johnson and Arthur, kind of sounds like a law firm, right? They have a relationship. They were both on staff together with Miami Dolphins for 3 years. But beyond that, Arthur had a pretty extensive history with the Bears, getting hired twice to head up this department, was very well thought of in the building. And guess what? This is further evidence that things are changing with the Bears because Johnson looked at the results, and regardless of how things have been done in the past or the relationships within the building, he looked at it and said, you know what? Change needs to happen. This just isn't good enough. And now beyond that part, I think watching games recently as Bears fans, I think the Bears really got pushed around a lot, especially in the trenches, especially the offensive line. They just couldn't hold. They couldn't they couldn't do anything. They were just consistently getting bullied. And not to mention the injuries. The injured reserve numbers over the last 3 seasons, we're looking at 24, 15, and 13 respectively, with many of those being offensive linemen. These guys just need to get stronger. They need to be less prone to injuries. And the coordinators and assistant coaches, they get all the press. Rightfully so, right? They have been fantastic hires, and I'm going to get to some of those. Excuse me. But the details that Ben Johnson is taking control of, from cleaning out the analytics department head to the team's mental performance and leadership coordinator, becoming a really prominent position in the building. And I'm talking about retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Andy Reese. Thank you for your service. And now let's go ahead and move in a different direction when it comes to making our players not only healthier, but stronger. And this change from the way things have traditionally been done in Hallis Hall, this change is huge because we're looking at Arthur. He's been in the NFL for 20 years. He was with the Bears during their second Super Bowl appearance in 2006, working as an assistant under former strength and conditioning coach Rusty Jones. Then he became strength and conditioning coach in 2008. He kept that role when they played for the NFC Championship in 2010. He stayed all the way till 2014. He did a stint in Miami. Then he returned to Chicago under Eberflus, and this was after the earlier stint during the Lovie Smith and Mark Trestman eras. He's been kind of a staple over the years, tons of relationships with the Bears. Ben Johnson, he just went in another direction. And I mean, it's not a broad stroke, but in the past, sentimentality, familiarity, relationship-driven hiring practices, that was the law of the land. And for so many years, that's been held up over competency, results, and innovative hires. And I feel for Arthur losing his position. I really do. That's not great for him. But generally, this is yet another really good sign that things are going to be different moving forward. And speaking of different, this staff that's put together, absolutely nuts. Windy City Gridiron, they just shared some snippets and interviews. Part of an interview with former player and NFL analyst Matt Bowen. He was asked for some thoughts on the staff, and well, the guy didn't hold back praise. Bowen really sang praises for the hires that the Bears have made, and this is a direct quote from him. I love the Ben Johnson hire. I really love the Dennis Allen hire also. You're talking about high-level scheme and high-level player development. That's what you're going to see out of this defense. A lot of multiple fronts, a lot of stunts, a lot of overload fronts. And he also mentioned that Allen, just like our previous coach, he prefers to play with 2 interchangeable safeties. So it's not going to be a huge scheme shift. And then he really doubled down. They're building a coaching staff that can be one of the best in the NFL. Guys like Antoine Randall Al Harris. But what they're doing right now, this is the best they can possibly do right now. They're making a statement to the league with all these hires. And then he mentioned, too, and I agree, the two most important position coaches, we're talking defensive backs and offensive line. Coaches are so important. These units play as a group, they communicate more than any other position. So the coach is so important. And man, we've hired two great ones in Al Harris and Dan Ruchar. And now this last hire almost feels like a bonus. We're getting bonus points, extra credit. We stole Eric Bieniemy to coach our running backs. This hire was a pleasant surprise to me. And then he actually touched on Eric Bieniemy, who joined the Bears as running backs coach over the weekend. This is someone that's a former play caller in the NFL, was up for head coaching interviews. You're hiring the best of the best right now and putting them all together. He's going to hold guys very accountable, and you're going to get that from him. And this combination of personalities, this combination of experience, this combination of coaches that actually demand discipline, including our head coach. These longer in the tooth, these more experienced hires, these proven coaches are also being paired with young, innovative minds, up and comers, guys like Declan Doyle, who many in the NFL are now saying, like coaches and GMs alike, that was an absolute steal from the Bears, because this is a guy that's looked at in head coaching circles and GM circles as a guy that might be a head coach in 3 to 4 years. And we have him when he's 28 years old. We get to get his offensive input, his hardworking demeanor. He is there to help our head coach every step of the way. So blessed to have him. And yeah, I think things are on the upswing. Really happy with each one of these moves as far as our coaching staff. So now we got to actually get the players. We have to fill out the rest of these assistants, get these players. I'm also really interested in who ends up heading up our analytics department moving forward. I'm going to be reporting on that, because that is vitally important. And the way that we're doing it was absolutely ridiculous. I could show you some things on that, but look at my previous story. Our hire for that department is going to be really underrated, important as well. And now we got to go out and get the players. I would totally advocate for us being super aggressive in free agency. We got to grab Trey Smith and pay him his money if he becomes available. All indications are that he will. And also, we need to address the center position via free agency. Drew Dahlman from Atlanta, he seems to be the best choice so far, but I'm sure this staff, this front office will do their due diligence to find the best one in that spot as well. If we can fill that center position and we can address at least one guard position in free agency, that's really going to free us up during the draft to be able to use our draft picks in a way that we're just getting the best player and we're not forced to grab a certain position out of, desperate need. Let's fill these things in free agency. Let's not nickel and dime. Let's get actually big blue chip marquee players and spend our money that way. I think it's time to do that. So you guys let me know what you think. Bear down. I will talk to you in the comments, and I'll be here on the daily with Chicago Bears news. See ya.